Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Get my screens organized. All right. So thank you everybody for joining the meeting. As usual, it's being recorded. And this will be published for the community to see. I'll quickly do the roll call because the way this displays, people can't see. The video doesn't show everyone who's in the call, so they know who's here. It displays kind of funny. It's hard for me to see everyone, so if I miss you, please just yell out. So we have Adrian from Flamingo, Alvaro with Core, Anne from Imstones, Anna from NSPCC, Dylan from NNT, Eric from COZ, Shargon from Core and Red for Sec. I assume Flamingo team is odd. Gil from Axe Labs, Igor from Neo Research, Jaime from Red for Sec, James from COZ, Jimmy from Core, LD Dora from Hashkey, I think. Yes. Yep. Maria from Everstake, Mickey from Axe Labs, Songping is sitting in representing for Eric, Tyler from COZ, and Vitor from Neo Research. Cool. All right. Moving along, general housekeeping. As usual, this call is being recorded. It'll be published for the community. The primary purpose is to let the community see what it is we're working on, right? Give us a chance to align on, priorities, discussions, make decisions, all that good stuff. If you're a council or core member and you do not have access to the channel on Discord, please reach out. Also, if you're not on the event invite by default, please send me a message. I went back and watched the first 5 minutes of the last call, literally right before this. You told me to add Roman to the list, and I'd forgotten. So we'll add him to the list for next time.
It's okay. We talked about it with Roman, so I'm his representative here.
No worries. I didn't do it on purpose. All right. So we have kind of some tough topics today. As usual, be prepared to go over time. If anyone has to drop off, they have to drop off. But I say it in the invite when I send everyone out. It's likely we'll go over the hour. Just is the way it is. So just start with a quick status update. Fee reductions on N3. The execution fee factor decimals change in the whitelisted contracts was shipped yesterday in 3.9. So once that's all fully live, I guess we need to vote in some parameter changes to get those to take effect as the council. So that's shipped now, pending activation and the other update. Flattening of the gas reward. So this is blocked. The first dependency, as I understand it, is the proof of node. And after that, the approach will be incremental, starting by flattening the rewards for the top 21 and then expanding it out from there. The candidate fee registration fee was reduced, and that's live. So yes, I suppose. The governance platform MVP. So it's live, but the adoption is low and disappointing, frankly. Only 11 of 21 nodes have registered on the platform, despite repeated, nudging. And the first proposal didn't reach quorum. So we need to take a look at ourselves there. And the block times to 3 seconds, we can make this change. It's been tested. We haven't executed it though. So there's a lot of negative signals on there. But despite the negative stuff that we're going to talk about, I'm quite confident that we can turn all this into a positive. So let's just remember to keep that in mind. So reality check. We as a council are not really operating at the level this ecosystem needs. Participation is uneven. decisions are stalled. We fail to reach quorum on things. Accountability is unclear. It's often not obvious, like who owns the next action, right? And we need to be better. You know, not just for ourselves, but for the community, right? Mostly for the community before ourselves. And I also think that another reality check is that we can't keep operating like we need unanimous engagement on things, because the reality is we do not have it, right? We can't reliably get 11 engaged votes out of 21. We can't, a lot of the times we can't get 11 people to show up, let alone 11 to say yes, right? We can do it on like infrequent episodic issues, but as soon as those decisions become work, it all breaks down very quickly. So if our operating model is going to continue to assume quorum participation, we will keep failing, even if everyone has good intentions. That's the reality as I see it. To ground that in some of those facts, as we said, you know, the governance platform, 11 out of 21 people have signed up to that. The participation on the first proposal was 9 council members who commented or voted. So thank you to all of those who did and went to the effort. Support on the council commitment statement, right? There was 5 council members who signaled support on that, to my knowledge. If I've missed any, you can call it out, I can correct it, but these were the ones that I was aware of that actively tweeted this out. You know, and said to the community, we are going to uphold these values, right? So, you know, these numbers, they're not meant to be a judgment of character. They're telling us that the structure isn't producing what we're trying to get out of it, right? So I want to show 4 examples, and I think each one kind of illustrates a different failure mode, but I think they all kind of point to the same underlying issue. So the developer hub proposal, right? So this proposal was up on neo.community for 31 days, not a weekend, not a week, a month, a whole month. And we have 12 comments, 10 of them from the council, right? There was 8 votes, we didn't meet quorum, and the result was weeks of delay with no outcome. Even with me hassling and pinging everyone publicly on Discord, right? We couldn't get people to get on there and do something, okay? And like, if this had failed to pass, that would have been a good outcome, because it would have meant we made a decision. But, you know, how can we as a council expect ourselves to make impactful decisions if we can't even get enough participation to cross that decision boundary, right? So, you know, in this case, our process is relying on participation that we don't reliably have. In example 2, block times to 3 seconds. So the community has been asking for this a lot. I see it come up in the Discord often. It's tested, it's available, and we've been aware of it since late November. So we've signaled intent to do it, but nothing has happened, right? So like, even when we have like implied agreement on something, there is no explicit owner, no deadline, no closure mechanism, right? And I know that this is a little bit more complicated than that, because there's a decision component to this too, which goes back to the decision thing. Like, if we make the blocks 5 times quicker, the time we have to do a cancel transaction is 1/5 of that time. There are other things to discuss, but the point is, like, whose responsibility is it to drive that outcome, right? Like, it's not explicitly anybody's responsibility to do that, and then that person needs to pick it up and go get everyone to agree. There's no process for that, right? Who starts and closes the loop? The CLI message signing, right? So Flamingo opened a PR to enable the signing in the CLI. It's quite odd. He said it was 10 minutes of coding and 7 days of discussing names. This is both a council and a core problem, right? It's not a critique of the core, but it comes back again to decision making and alignment, right? Like, whose job is it to make that decision, and how do we decide which decisions are going to lead to the most immediate outcomes, immediate concrete outcomes for the ecosystem? And then fee reductions, right? So this is something we agreed upon at Singapore. The work was actually done pretty quickly, right? About 6 weeks after we agreed, considering these are, I guess, kind of substantial changes. But the ecosystem is like still waiting for it in reality, even though it shipped yesterday. And this is another council and core problem, and this is what led to the friction on the Discord that we had the other week in the council and core channel, right? So even when we managed to agree on a change and pushed it through, right, we still didn't get the immediate ecosystem outcome. And again, this is an alignment and decision issue. It comes back to being unclear about who is responsible for what, right? Who makes the decision about what gets shipped and when, what goes into a release, right? Who communicates that back to the community and the ecosystem, like whose job is it to do the final testing, all that kind of stuff. Some of this is on council, some of this is on core. But in general, it's an alignment and and decision-making issue. So another reality check. This is something that I think I've come to realize over the past few months. I have tried really hard over the past 12 months to get the council to drive meaningful change in this ecosystem. I've tried. I really tried. I've literally dragged you guys all over the world in pursuit of that goal. Literally. And maybe I think I've been trying to get the council to be something that it's not, right? I think our governance is built for oversight, or is more suited for oversight and execution than execution. In reality, with 21 people, all of them equal, like nothing is reliably somebody's job, right? Or to put it another way, when everyone is responsible, no one is accountable. It's just not an efficient decision-making body, right? And there are lots of reasons for that, reasons that I've gone into elsewhere. The council is capable of making decisions. We've done it. We need to get better at it. Yes. We've made protocol changes. We made some decisions in Singapore. But I think these decisions, they need to be more representative and episodic, not like always on and ongoing, right? As soon as those decisions require like a lot of work to even just make your decision as a group or an individual, let alone as a council, like I said before, it starts to crumble really quickly. Sorry, is there a hand? Yep, John? Oh, he's joining the call, sorry. Thought it was a hand up. Okay, so moving on. So basically, like, what I guess it's kind of my thesis for this call anyway, is that we don't have a reliable decision engine, right? Like a mechanism that can like set directions, make decisions quickly, can track status, can execute transparently. For all the decision-making bodies in the ecosystem, they all fail at one or more of those things. And so the same failure repeats in different ways at all the different layers. The council has too many decision makers, it leads to the uneven participation, the quorum failures, the delays. When the council tries to hand stuff off to core, okay, we hand it off, but then whose job is it on core to do the work? Whose job is it on council to follow it up? Whose job in core is it to give the updates? What happens if a request isn't workable, right? Then who from core takes it back to who in council, and then who has that discussion about, all right, how do we change the approach? And then do we vote again on what it's just not, it's not clear. Strategic direction, there's no lighthouse, there's no signal on what matters most right now, right? Like from anywhere. And this materializes in lots of different ways. Like a lot of the sponsor communities feel that, and what's the most important thing I should be working on? And it comes out in this too. Like, should core prioritize Neo4 features or the CLI change, right? Like that's a symptom of that problem. And like when it comes to the Treasury stuff, we all know what's happening in public. It's on Twitter. It's not a secret. We don't have to pretend like it's not happening. Obviously, Dyer and Eric can have a disagreement there, but and I'm not here to drag that topic into this call or to litigate anything between them. But structurally, if the ecosystem can't see transparent stewardship and decision authority, then it's not going to have any confidence in itself, and neither will anyone else, right? So we have damage that we need to repair here. Big bold letters, right? We are elected to represent token holders. So I don't think we should be waiting for a signal from anywhere else to fix this. We should be proposing the fix. If you'll give me a moment of frustration and unprofessionalism, I'm fucking sick of people who want to sit around and wait for someone else to like wave a wand and solve all our problems. I can't be clearer about this. There is no perfect solution, right? Every option we have moving forward is going to have trade-offs. And we can either stay in analysis paralysis and wait for the heavens to open up and some savior to come down and fix everything, or we can get on the fucking bus, pick a destination, and commit ourselves to each other and do something about it. So we need to decide now. If you don't have the bandwidth or the confidence to participate in active discussion on the things we need to fix, it's okay to say that now. Okay, like no judgment. Not everyone has the capacity to do that, and that's something that we're realizing about the council, right? What's not okay is to say that you do and then drag the whole process down later. So you're either on board to help and do something, or you're prepared to let others drive the bus. This is how I see it. I ask yourselves, what do the token holders want from us? Do they want us to sit around and wait? Or do they want us to lead and represent? I have no power. I have no authority of my own over you guys or anyone else, right? Except maybe Dylan. Just joking. I can't make anyone here do anything. If we do anything, we have to do it as a group. We have to do it together, right? So I don't want you to think that like I'm sitting here thinking that I'm in charge. I'm not. I'm just trying to get us on the road. I asked everyone to make comments in the Discord prior to this call, to help diagnose the issues you see, propose antidotes, make suggestions of structures, mechanisms, anything actionable, right? Nobody did.
I have some ideas though, but they're not formalized, and I read through your whole issue on GitHub, so it's I'm afraid to maybe speak up because some of the ideas are radical. So like I didn't share anything, but I have thoughts and I would like to share them today. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right, good. We'll get to those, right? Absolutely. I was going to say, because nobody did, I was just going to present my solution. And then if you agree, then yes, disagree. If you have better models, we want it. I want it. Let's get them out there, right? But someone's got to start the conversation. Someone's got to put ideas out there so we can, come up with something. So
I like your idea, and it's I think it's. Are you going to discuss it now with all of us?
Yeah.
Perfect. Nice.
Open it up. So basically, what you're looking at here, just to kind of explain what it is, this is kind of like my map of the decision-making groups with consequence, kind of as I see it, right? The blue is kind of like assets or financial power, and then all the other colored boxes represent either like a group or an individual, right? And the different colors for different groups in the foundation, different individuals. The council, 21 groups, uneven engagement, high decision threshold, limited resources, right? Very hard to make decisions, and doesn't really have the financial, like if we can't make a decision, it's going to be even harder to get everyone to pool money to do stuff. Core builds and ships, but it doesn't control any resources, and it's taking direction from both the council and the foundation. And Jimmy has spoken at length about how the core has difficulties coming to like alignment and agreement on one direction or another often. And then the foundation, it holds the most financial power, obviously, but you know, its mandate and transparency are contested and unclear right now. It's not in alignment, right? So the decision making is broken in every group, let alone between the groups, right? The coordination is ad hoc at best, right? And nobody like has a view of the whole picture. And the ecosystem can only move as fast, I think, as the parts that control the resources, right? And the interfaces between the priorities, the execution, nothing is clean, right? But we have amazing people. We can solve this, right? This is not unfixable. Right? So don't sit there thinking like, oh, this is fucked. If you allow me to quote Professor X, as I so often do, just because someone stumbles and loses their way does not mean they're lost forever. That applies to us as well. So my proposal is to add a new body, a small, I'm calling it the Strategy and Treasury Board, for want of a better term, and it's kind of part of what I see as like the execution layer. In that picture you see there, the colors are kind of there to represent different parties, because I think that if we do something like this, there needs to be representation from different areas of the ecosystem and blockchain, right? So we can have a diverse set of viewpoints. This board cannot be NNT COZ, AXLab COZ, Flamingo Finance, and SPCC. It can't be like this same ones of us that show up for everything, right? It needs to be more diverse than that. So like ideally maybe someone from like a sponsor community, someone like has core background, someone from NGD, someone from outside of the NEO ecosystem altogether maybe, someone with a financial background, someone from more grassroots. Like it needs to be more diverse. And this, what you're seeing here also assumes a happy path where the Dara and Eric stuff is sorted out neatly. But I think this works even if that, like regardless of the outcome there. And it also assumes that the foundation is willing to put assets in the care of the board. If not, we can still do this by redirecting gas rewards to the board, to the wallet there. We can reduce council rewards and do that. I think that's something we should look at, even though that sucks for the people in this call. But I think like hopefully this map kind of also gives you an idea of how some of the responsibilities of the ecosystem might become a little bit clearer if we move towards something like this. So in short, the board is basically a small specialized group. My ideal number is 5, elected by the council and responsible for day-to-day decisions and coordination, right? Its job is to keep the whole picture in focus and to be always on. Yeah. I'm going to be moving kind of fast through this because I want to get it out to you guys I don't want to be anyone speaking. In general, the sorts of things I imagine it doing is setting like a 12-month strategic priorities for the ecosystem, right? It would define budget envelopes assigned to those priorities. It would be reviewing proposals wherever they come from, and that would be transparently online in public forums. So neo.community is a ready-made platform for that. We just need a few little tweaks to, to accommodate something like this. It would make funding decisions based on, strategic fit and what the community feels about things. I think it's really important that these people are prepared to represent NEO in events and in media, because we haven't had a lot of that recently. And it's also important that this group would not be passive. So just waiting for proposals to come to it. It would be out there seeking opportunities as well. Trying to find new partners, pull new people into the ecosystem, engage with projects that it wants to coach, things like that. And basically the way we do this is we create a new role, the Treasury Board, which basically is a dynamic multi-sig. So the council appoints the board and is responsible for making sure that it's steering the ecosystem in the right direction. And the council members are in the ecosystem. We're working in the ecosystem. We should be anyway. We should know what is going on the ground. We should know, what our users' problems are, the community's problems are, what they need, what they want, and we should be able to judge whether the ecosystem is being steered in the right direction. So the council would retain oversight through both removal and veto power. They could remove and change the board at any time, and any financial transaction could be vetoed, right? So let's say the board decides it wants to send $100,000 to someone we've never heard of. The council could step in and in 72 hours veto the transaction altogether, so it can't be executed. Or a suggestion that was made on the GitHub was that they also have ability, like any council member could trigger an extension. So let's say it was like on a Friday off a long weekend, maybe the council can't get 11 votes together in time, even in an emergency. So they can trigger like a 2-week extension and the council has more time to do that. So that's how the council would sort of manage this Treasury Board. The upside of this is it drops the day-to-day execution threshold from 11 of 21 to 3 of 5, while keeping the council as that elected oversight layer, right? So this is important. This alone makes the council functional. Right? Like this alone allows the council to do something more meaningful than just adjusting the network parameters. So like if we take something like the European Dev Hub proposal as an example, we have 31 days, no outcome, right? In this scenario, it would be put out for the community to comment on. And once the board had felt that the community had said its piece, they would vote. And a day or two, we'd have a result, right? So that's like in short, how I think that would work. Yes, Jimmy?
I would suggest it to be like a 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 voting for the board.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have, yeah.
Sorry, finish your thought.
Yeah, because you're gonna have 3 different parties or groups: co-developers, foundations, and councils. So 4 would be better to make sure that every party is participated in the process.
Yeah. In the GitHub proposal, the voting threshold is kind of configurable and adjustable depending on how many are in there, but like that's a detail. I'm totally open on that. We could make it higher. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. But obviously we have like other problems as well than just the council struggling to make decisions. So like I think this can help with a lot of those other symptoms also. So just to stay with the council for a second, so the council would be pushing stuff back up to the board. So they would surface the ecosystem needs, the priorities, they provide input on strategic direction, signal support on opposition on proposals. The board would help set development priorities based on strategy and ecosystem needs, right? So even if they're not like saying, all right, core, I want you to prioritize this PR, at least the core would be able to see like, oh, these are the things that are important to the ecosystem right now. We know these features align with that, so they can be prioritized easier that way. I think under this model as well, we could have a much clearer reporting process on timeline and expectations, right? So especially if there's someone on the board who has that core DNA and they understand the workflow, they understand how they do things, they understand how long things take, they understand like the risks of just pushing certain things out quickly, how much time they take to test and all those sorts of things. I think that feedback loop would be much better. And it's something we don't have right now. So like issues like with the flat rewards and the fees where it was thrown over the fence, now no one really knows what to do with it, we're not communicating well, that could be solved under this structure. And then with the NEO Foundation, the board would, I think, mostly kind of communicate the ecosystem state and its most pressing needs. This kind of seems like a silly example, but, like maybe the board goes and says like, hey, Foundation, we really need a native stablecoin. And they, we don't have the same finances as you. We can't sign a partnership with whoever it needs to be. This is a huge priority. Let's get this sorted out. They would be the ones to have that dialogue with the NEO Foundation. Because remember, they're representing the ecosystem. These needs to be pushed up. And I think they would also align on like strategic direction. So it wouldn't just be the board setting it. There would be a dialogue there, right? With obviously, again, they're representing the community and what the community needs, but they also need to listen to the foundation too and find that middle ground. And then they would, get assets from the board treasury. They would get assets. The board would request assets from the foundation if it was running low. I'm under no expectation that the foundation is going to be like, all right, here's like $50 million in here, go with it. I think if we went with something like this, it would obviously start with a smaller amount, and the model would be proven before it goes up. But I'm hoping that it can be trusted with chunks at a time. And then, like I said, it's a two-way street. The foundation would be pushing ideas back to the board. It would allocate assets to the board treasury. And otherwise, the foundation would continue to do the sorts of things it's already doing, managing relationships with exchanges, listings, all those sorts of things, some of the always-on, ongoing ecosystem support that needs to happen. The board wouldn't compete with the foundation in that regard. It's more like it's a partner that can execute much closer to the ecosystem level than the foundation can, right? And it's an elected partner, which is really important. So to me, this could be a very small technical shift with huge cultural change, right? I'm not a developer, so I always feel like I have to caveat that. People who aren't developers should be telling developers how hard things are. And there's a chance I got some of these things wrong, but the way I see it, all the existing governance mechanisms remain intact, right? When we tried to push the flat rewards change through, there was a lot of concerns that came up immediately with how that affects the consensus stability and the overall stability of the network. With this, all the consensus security and protocol functions remain untouched, right? The existing on-chain council roles and responsibilities remain unchanged. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, it's so easily rolled back, right? We just stop using that role and we empty the wallet. That's it. Nothing, very little lost in that regard. And it's built entirely on things that already exist in there, right? So we're not reinventing new technologies and new patterns that we don't already have. And then, so, the current model, we'll go through this quickly, things are unclear right now regarding strategy and priorities. It'll be clearer in the new model. Decisions are unclear current. This would be improved transparency. Communication is ad hoc between groups. It's inconsistent. The board would serve as a coordination hub. Right now, we try and do stuff as the council, but we lack the capacity. In the new model, the council gets to focus on oversight, not day-to-day execution. The core has a hard time deciding on direction priorities. They would have, a clear mandate of like, these are the ecosystem priorities. They could have that dialogue with the board as well. Right now, the foundation is being criticized a lot for operating independently and with limited transparency. I think going with something like this could be a big win for the foundation to win back trust as it coordinates with the board and trusts it with assets that are managed transparently. Right now, accountability is diffused, especially within the council. It's unclear who decides what. This would make it a lot more clear. Board decides, council activities. And it's slow for the council to do stuff right now. We'd have this nimble, always-on group, which would really help with that. So I've said a lot of words. This is the last slide on this, just to try and make the model a bit clearer with like less noise. So there's essentially three layers. There's the oversight and accountability layer, which is the token holders. The second layer is consensus and representation. That's us, that's the council. We elect the board, so all those things are pushed up. Then we have the execution layer with the core, the board that's the decision engine, and whose only job it is to link all this together, make the decisions, do what's best for the ecosystem, push out the funds, read proposals, etc. And the foundation, and they push all that up into ecosystem outcomes, right? So is this perfect? I don't know, right? I think it's in the right direction, and it's the only model that's been put out so far. I think that addresses some of our issues. But if you think I've diagnosed this wrong, say so. If you have a better model, let's bring it. And if there's broad agreement, then let's turn it into a plan, right? That's my suggestion. The floor is yours. Who would like to take the floor? Go, Adrian.
Hello, everyone. First of all, Dean, I love the effort you put into this, and it's great work. I can see that you thought really, really hard about this, not only like before you wrote it, but probably for years. It's been culminating maybe in your head on all the different ideas that's inside the proposal. So first of all, I just have to pat you on the back and say that I love your efforts. And how I see it is that we have 3 different problems, and this maybe solves 2 of them. What I see is that the first problem is like who owns the network and protocol development and upgrades, also known as the core. Right now, that seems to be NGD and Neo Foundation because of the current delegated votes to consensus nodes. Basically, they can upgrade the network, right? So who are we to say no, really? if they say yes, then from my technical perspective, that's how it works, and that's how we're able to do upgrades right now. So the problem is, okay, someone has that power. Who controls the direction of the people who has that power? So your proposal addresses that a bit, or to some degree at least. And the second thing is like who owns the BDM marketing. So that's besides the technical stuff, but people are funded, right? They get salaries, so people get to put directions for the BDM marketing people, and we have to figure out, okay, is that within the scope of really the council, or is it just outside? Is it up to anyone? Is it the board? So I was a little bit unclear on that, because that's necessary. I feel it's necessary with marketing and partnerships, and yeah. And the third thing is like who owns the validation and setting of the networks itself on mainnet as it operates, and that is the council. We do control and we can set settings, and that's nice. We can see that we're technically able, but we're maybe not able in a coordination sense. Then like who's in charge of like setting these execution settings? Like I think we still have the same problem when we change settings to reach that consensus on something. The board can't really push us to do that. It doesn't go that way. So we still need to figure out like a small way of figuring out how to be better at changing these settings. So I see these are like 3 separate issues who that can like have an holistic approach. Maybe yours is the best, if we could sort of maybe implement them a little bit. And what I always think about is getting the incentives right. So for the council members, I would maybe they can have 2 focuses. That is to elect a competent board, and secondly, ensure network activity. So they are responsible. Everyone should be active in creating more network activity and volume. That's so important for a network like this to survive and to thrive and to expand. So I have sort of a radical idea that everyone here is probably going to dislike, but and it's harder to implement. So it's besides your issue, but or your proposal. The thing is it possible to change that? Actually, the payment of the nodes is only the activity we see on chain. So quick idea that I've just been working on is like 90% of the gas actually used on the network would be the payment of the nodes, and the rest could go to the board. So hey, everyone could come together and help. Everyone gets an equal share. Yeah, you want to say something, Gil?
No, just finalize, but I'm gonna add on top of what you're saying. I agree.
Yeah, so like the incentive to get them right, then everyone would be pulling in the same direction of, hey guys, we need more network activity. Our payment is down. The board is getting a lot, so we can maybe control the board, right? But we need some incentives to actually get volume on the network, and everyone then should pull in that direction. Okay, I know of something that could be run on chain. Let's do more activity on chain. It could be something that's not significant. It could be something that actually brings new people in. But everything should then be on chain, because everyone wants more like payments and to the nodes. So that's just an idea to get the incentive rights there, incentives right for the nodes. And for the core, the one who like owns the upgrades and actually write the code on where to go, there's the incentive there, I guess, would be to get paid, to get salaries, right? So who decides you're not getting paid if you don't do what I say? Right now, it seems that control is in Neo Foundation and NGD. Can we transition that power, if that could be inside the board, to give that salary or payments, and the board could set them direction? I would love to see it. because if we don't, I think in your presentation, the block on the right with the Neo Foundation, and I guess inside there NGD as well, like an umbrella under there. I'm not sure how it's legally structured or whatever, but it seems to be the same guys. So like, how is the board able to control the core, because that's so much of the direction and actual ownership of the upgrades on the network. So I would love to see in your proposal like a harder control of the core from that board. So that's just my inputs and ideas. I'll just leave those comments for now, and maybe bring some more later.
Yeah, so I'm going. I also thought, Adrian, yesterday, by chatting and thinking, brainstorming about Dean's idea, I also thought that the console could be, the rewards could be based on like network activity, but a part of it, and I don't know how much. If you mentioned like 90%, but it could be also 80 or 95%, whatever. This could go directly to the board, because this will incentive good decisions on electing the board by the council. So I think this, if you, instead of like getting the whole pot as the council is getting like this, all the rewards part should go to the board to fill their treasury, and this will allow then the council to elect the board and supervise, let's say, also the kind of the board. So yeah, I agree with you, Adrian. I also had like a similar idea. Would like to share his here. And
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Dean. I think Adrian said it all. Like thanks a lot for putting this together.
Yeah, for my quick comment from my perspective, and for our node, I would say, okay, give me nothing if it is like it is now. If the state just continues to be the state it is, give me nothing, and give everything to a board that's competent to drive change. And yeah, I really love your idea, Dean, because like 5 people, 6 people, something around there, 4 people, they could just drive. They could execute. They could be really, really fast, and that's what we're lacking. And I'm willing to put my gas on the line to elect someone else to do that.
Go Flamingo team. I assume that's on.
Yeah, that's it.
Your microphone is really, really low.
Really hard to
Probably
hear.
the wrong. It's a PlayStation controller again. His microphone keep changing over to the PlayStation controller, and I talk with him every day, so I guess that's the same issue now. Probably fix it.
I only heard about that happening for the first time like 2 days ago. Now it's happened again. What a menace these PlayStation controls are. Nope.
Nope.
Yeah,
Mm.
there-
Nope.
No.
Yes, I wish I had someone to get PC here right now.
He took the PlayStation like a joystick, probably talking like this,
You can try that though.
Don't worry, we'll cut this out of the recording. Odd.
Yeah.
Not real.
No, I still cannot hear.
Maybe why odds working on that. We'll come back to you, mate. Just just test it when you think you got it ready, and so we'll know to come back to you. I would like to hear from the core, especially on that point, like Adrian brought up, like what is your incentive, right? Like obviously it's wages, but who do you want to answer to? How do you want to be making decisions? have we made life more difficult for you recently? Is there something internally that, would make things, more straightforward on your side? Any core members? Shagun, Beetle, anyone?
But you're asking about the salary.
Well, just like in general, like how do you, I can't speak for you in the position that you're in, right? Like as far as like where your orders come from, how you make decisions internally, how the current incentives that you get align with the work that's being done. Like, I don't know if you get a fixed wage. I don't know if you get paid per PR. We don't know anything about that. And so if we're going to move to a model where there is a board or something similar, and their job is to take requirements, from the council and the ecosystem as whole, set strategic directions for the board. Like, for example, maybe they say, RWAs are a big priority or something else is a big priority. Like, then at least to prioritize features that support that. I guess kind of what we're asking is like, what is the state of play internally right now? Like, what's your ideal scenario moving forward?
For me, my ideal scenario is if someone can assign us the task that must be done, because is the critical part in new core. Because if someone is not working, anyone else can do it, but a lot of times we don't know where we should put the efforts. So as I think this is the critical part in the new core problems. We don't know where we should put the efforts usually.
I have a question or two questions then. So which whose direction do you follow? And secondly, under which incentives?
The direction, I try to follow the Eric roadmap.
Yeah. And the incentives, is that payment from new foundation or from a node, or you can decide not to answer as well. That's fine.
Honestly, I give my wallet to Adela in the past, and I don't know where the funds come from. So I don't know who pay us.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's an honest answer. It's the thing I'm thinking about. Not trying to be the guy who says the problem with that, but the problem with that might be that the direction changes you follow directions maybe from a board. The council agrees that they should have that power. Are you still going to get paid? That's my question. Or is it then up to the board to pay you?
I may still get paid, but for example, this December was not paid yet, so we have a delay on that.
Okay, yeah, just trying to probe it. Is this the same for everyone in the core, or is it that individual?
It's for
I
all.
think I can answer that question because I might know more details about it.
Yeah, all it's symbolic. The payment like $2,000 per month. And from my side, I do the audio event. Okay, peraí, one second.
We cannot hear you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There is the possibility to write in the chat, and then Dean could probably read
Yes.
it, or
Everybody's got their PlayStation controls out.
yeah, Sony's listening.
Yeah. Odds, we cannot hear you either. Like, same problem. Unfortunately. Maybe just use the chat also.
Veto, I saw your thing flashing like you still can't.
Also, guys, while others are typing, I think that the board should be aligned with Eric's plans, because right now I think Eric is still he makes the decision on where to go and what is the direction of development.
Can you hear now?
Yep, here now.
Yes.
Okay, so indeed my mic was on, but in another computer. So I was looking to it, see the blue light, but it was plugged in another computer. But anyway, from my side, the core has been always treated as a contribution to the community. Because, for example, from my side, I don't consider the amount I receive something as a job. Like, for example, for 3 years, I have been receiving $2,000 fixed per month, independent of what I do. I don't do much compared to the other guys, but what I do, I always try to review the consensus part. I always look. So the amount of money I receive is kind of symbolic. It's like $2,000 per month for 3 years. I have been, or more, maybe 5 years. I have been receiving this. So the part of core is very complex because there is not a specific way of paying the core devs. I don't know how everyone is paid. I don't know. This has been. From my perspective, this is something that has been related to Eric. I think Eric has been in charge of these payments, but I'm not fully sure. But that's it. I think the core needs improvement, and it's happening now. Maybe Chardon, Fernando will have a better role now in defining tasks, in defining directions. But from the past, the core has been each one doing what they think they should do. I think the core needs many changes, and I believe it may happen now in New 4. I'm not fully sure. But from my side, I think I'm trying to give you an understanding of how it works. And from my side, it has been working like this. It's more like a volunteer job.
Yes, and still receives directions from them. It seems like Eric, but he's been gone. I'm not sure who's been setting directions in his absence. But then it's fine that you have open source projects where people contribute or not, but there is someone who decides which distributions gets which pull requests included. And in this case of a network, there is a consensus that needs to be reached for nodes that upgrades the network. So there is several steps here where actually someone has to have that executive power to do and drive those changes. And if we're talking about this proposal and trying to keep it on point, we have a board. Which executive power can it realistically have? Can it set agenda for the core? Can it set agenda for BD? Can it try to drive adoption and network activity? I'm not sure. So I would just hate to see something where a board is disagreeing with the core. So we need alignment.
Yeah, definitely need alignment between the board, between the foundation.
I think we need a roadmap, Adrian. If we have a roadmap, consequently, the core would be more aligning in their direction, in their tasks. I think New has been missing roadmaps since New 3. Yeah,
and then it becomes who creates the roadmap. And then again, if the roadmap is implemented, is it something that the nodes are willing to implement? So yeah, just questions to ask and answer before a proposal like this is implemented.
I think I can have my views about the questions and answers. First of all, the incentives is from the NGD, from the Neo Foundation accounts, which is multi-signature accounts that is controlled by both Don and Eric. Though Eric was absent for the past few years, but the salaries things will still need Eric's signatures and signing for those things, approval for that things. And then about the goals and plans about how the core developers works in the past, it's mainly the community driven. Like whatever the community wants, we're gonna implement that. And then it's like what Vader has said, volunteer work. We know we don't really have a very long-term plan about where to go and how to work, but we know there's something will definitely never be wrong. For instance, adding tests, adding documents, fixing issues, improve stability and robustness, that kind of things we do, and including fixing bugs. So you can see we contribute like thousands of PRs every year since the new incentive was introduced. Well,
I would
yes.
like to push back a little bit on that, Jimmy. I don't intend to be hostile, but I want to push a little bit back on that. I know you say, and I truly believe you say that you want to do what the community wants, but who is the community? So like you're guided by someone, something unspecific that you say community, but it seems like someone is heading direction as well. So maybe it's a bit of both, or
So whoever tell you what you want, we will implement that. We're gonna discuss about it and implement that.
okay.
When I say community, like everybody here in this meeting, if you come over, tell me you want something to be added in the core, I will mention that in our core developer meetings and discuss with other members. If they all agree that we should do this, and we're gonna implement that, that is what we call community driven.
Yeah.
Or you can also open issues in the GitHub, or
Yep.
just directly submit, as we're gonna discuss about it. Yeah.
It
And then
seems
now
like
we
it's
have a
also
leader,
a
which is the
roadmap as well. So that's like the Neo 4, but that seems more, again, not trying to be hostile, that seems more authoritative. This is where Neo is going. It's Neo 4. It's Eric's idea. Are people behind it or not? I'm not sure, but that's the direction as well. So there's a community and there's like another force at play. So I'm just trying to be honest about what I think and what I see happening.
So as a Victor also mentioned that we were inefficient, and that's why we introduced Fernando as our leader. So he now has supreme powers than over all the other code developers. He can make decisions directly, but code developers is still not suitable for making. Need the board that Dean just mentioned to make like roadmaps. Of course, with Eric's joining, they're assisting us to make long-term plans for the core and for Neo.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, I figured it out.
It works now.
It was just to click a button on this meeting. Wow. Happy New Year, everyone. So sorry for being a pain in the ass over the New Year's in the Discord. Everything comes from a position of love for Neo. And back to the proposal from Dean, and I heard your chats now, guys, and I think this is it's so important to split, because on Flamingo, me and Adrian can decide a lot of things because we also make the protocols, and then we can just give a fuck about what people say, and we can do what we feel is the best, and that's cool. And basically that's the same feeling I get with Neo. It's that we decide something together, and then let's go build Neo 4 instead. So we need to split the roles of the core devs. Like you have a software company, a developer working there can't like say to the CTO, no, I'm not going to do that, or that's not my priority. It's your job, and we need to pay people to be developers for Neo, and we need to pay people to do the security. It can't be from a perspective where you do it because you love Neo, because then we can't have any direction. Then it's the direction of the core developer. No, I'm not. I don't think that reducing fees is a good thing, so I'm not going to do it. And then we're stuck there.
Yeah, it's like Linus Torvalds on with Linux.
But if you are talking specifically to the flat reward case, I just want to remind that we focus that were a problem. That first we need to prove a node. I personally create two kind of proposals to solve this problem, this proof of node that in fact happened 2 months ago or something like that. I don't remember, but one node was both as primary and the node was not prepared, and we suffer a delay. So it's a real problem. And if you see the GitHub issue, I don't see any move, any opinion on that. So how can we work on flat reward issue if no one is voting or proposing a real proof of node? So we are not against to follow the decision, but if one decision have a real problem and must be solved, please also try to find a solution for that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I don't think like these two things are combined, because we can have lower fees on Neo and run the network as a centralized network as it's been running for the last 10 years without having to have the proof of node fixed before that is out. So yeah, I agree that that is an issue, and that's an issue we need to solve, but we also have other issues, and that's why I've been pushing back a bit this year, because we're avoiding doing upgrades or doing tweaking to our network because we're scared of XYZ, and we will just end up with having nothing. I see Flamingo now is building on Binance Smart Chain. So because that's what we need to do. We want to survive. We need food and water basically to survive, and on Neo we don't get food and water. So and I don't like this. I don't like it at all. We have to learn new stuff. We have to do new stuff. We want to be on Neo 100%. But if we want to survive, we have to go somewhere else, and that should be a big problem for everyone here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff what you guys are talking about is exactly what the issue is. Who gets to make the decisions? Whose job is it to make those decisions? And whose job is it to assign the responsibilities on the back of those? Like, that's the thing that's broken. It's broken in the core, it's broken in the council, it's broken in the foundation, and we're all trying to do our best in spite of that, right? So, like, to me, the question is, like, we don't need to work out exactly what we're going to do next. We need to work out how we can make that decision, how we're going to make that decision, and the next one, the next one, the next one, all the ones that come after it. Because
I agree, Dean, and this is not personal to anyone. It's just that we're stuck. That's my issue, and that's everyone. Because I'm trying to solve it, Dean trying, Gil trying, and Fernando is trying to solve it. Everyone's trying to solve it, but we're just stuck here. So we need to like, after a year now of trying, we need to, like, okay, how can we actually get unstuck and move forward? And that's why I was sad when we didn't even it was a test proposal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
I think
like,
the core,
This
I think
great.
the core issue is like Dean has mentioned. The core issue is that we always assume someone else will do it, but actually the issues depend on the guys here in this meeting to make decisions all together to work all together. But the problem is that most of the time we cannot, or you cannot gather together and make decisions all together. That is the problem. So that's why I support the board proposals from Dean. Though that board, guys, just a few guys can represent all members or councils and NF and the developers, and they can discuss together, make decisions together to represent the benefits and the goods of our communities and our councils. That will make everything, all the issues that we are facing right now be solved. I think that will be the solution we are waiting for.
Let me ask this. Does anybody here have strong opposition to the board idea? I understand, like, there are definitely things that still need to be worked out. Adrian's pointed out a lot of them, you know, how certain relationships play out in that scenario. But does anybody here have strong opposition to this idea fundamentally for any reason? Political, implementation wise, so technical, anything.
Hey guys, I won't say I'm against this idea. I just, again, with already many people already point this out, I just want to know more in detail, like how this can be perfectly implemented and how can we go on with this direction. How those people going to be elected? Are they come from us, or it's going to be someone outside the party right now? How their salaries, how all the financial stuff going to work out? How can we make sure they really represent the benefits of everyone that's already in this group right now? So I just feel like before I just have a feeling like we do need to have more discussions before we can really make a lot of decisions, especially on this direction. It's just more details that will be much appreciated, and we definitely love to consider deeply. And from our infrastructure partner perspective, as we offer API service to NEO, and we're very active in governing, I would say. We do consider all the proposals actively. We have discussions internally, and yeah, we'll just make our decision carefully, and we're going to do the same for this one as well.
Really good points. I'll drop the proposal. It's in the Discord. I'm going to drop it in this chat as well. So it is a read. I know I go on, but I wanted to be thorough as I could with this proposal. And a lot of the things you just mentioned, I mentioned in there as things that need to be worked out, right? Remuneration. So how is the board incentivized to do this job, right? Where do those funds come from? So are we redirecting a certain amount of funds from the gas that we all get to the board? Is that coming from somewhere else? Does that come from an endowment that the foundation puts into the board treasury? Do they get paid out of that? What is the level of pay? It needs to be high enough to attract quality people and stable enough that they can, reliably live on it. Do we want them to work full-time, or do we want them to work part-time? In my ideal scenario, that would be full-time, right? I go on in the GitHub discussion quite a bit on how governance suffers severely when people are splitting their responsibilities. And right now, if we look at the people who are most active in governance, right, we'll take NNT, Axe Labs, COZ, Flamingo Finance, these guys here. Like, Gil, how many projects are under your care right now?
Man, I don't know.
Rough number.
4 or 5.
You're responsible for 4 or 5 projects. On top of that, you're responsible for reviewing everything on grant shares as well. You're a grant shares voter, right? Managing your team. And now if you're going to be elected into a position like this, if you're a candidate, how are you going to fit that in and do a good job? Right? This is a serious concern.
Yeah,
right?
like it's just like 24 hours, right?
Exactly. So the other part of this is like, who are the candidates, right? And what, depending on what that level of remuneration would be, like, how can they fit it into their life? Because we have 2 options. We either keep it low because, we don't have the money, or, there's not enough gas to come out, I don't know. And people are doing it part-time, and we run this risk. Or we try and get professional salaries and try and get the very best people we can get, not only in the ecosystem, but in the industry. But if we do that, and someone like a Gil, or someone of that, like someone who's leading a community who is very, very qualified to do this for the ecosystem, if they're going to do that full time, they may have to step back from their current role. And that's something that we need to consider. Is that worth it as well? Is that appropriate? Can their team survive with it without them, or at least on a hiatus, or in a severely limited role moving forward? So these things that you've raised, Dan, are things we would need to decide on. I think there's multiple layers to this, and we need to have in my ideal scenario, we decide, like, is this something we are serious about pursuing? If so, we work out those things. Like, another thing in the proposal is we need to have a charter. Like, we need to have, like, before we form a board, we need to formalize what this charter needs to be. How far does their mandate go? What are their responsibilities? Under what circumstances do we remove a board member? Things like that, right? That would be good to have as well. This is something we didn't have when we formalized the council, and so now we're in this position where it's like, okay, so we're getting this money. What really is our role? What really should we be doing? And so we're trying to work it out along the way. That needs to be clear from the beginning. And these are the things we need to nut out if we want to go down this path. So I completely agree with you on that point. Dylan, you were the first to put up your hand.
I just want to go on the record and say that the board should be an entity that can go out and do BD and get things done. It's been obvious for almost 3 years now that the industry was moving in a direction where capital is coming on chain in the form of RWAs and stablecoins. I'm pretty sure I made a convincing case in Q4 2023, and the ineptitude of this ecosystem to be able to go out and get a basic, well-used stablecoin is the exact issue that needs to be solved by this board. And I would even argue even further that the board should be comprised of nobody from the ecosystem, because our role will be keeping the board in check, and the board's role will be getting a nice compensation and going out and bringing real deal projects into the ecosystem. And I just want to quadruple down on this point, because we're hurting, and it's bad when our only project has to build on Binance Smart Chain. Like, this is not good. And we need to bring in professionals, because I'm just going to go out and say it, that isn't happening in this ecosystem. And there's no direction from anybody at the top that can take us there right now. And it's been proven over and over and over again.
I don't disagree that bringing in like people who have proven themselves in this role, either like a financial controller or someone who's done, this kind of, maybe call it ecosystem repair in other industries. I think that is the ideal candidate for these, for sure. The question is whether we can provide attractive and stable enough incentives to bring them on. But I agree with you as well. In my ideal scenario, no one here is on the board. We have enough shit to do. We have other people that come in and do that role, and we get to hire them and elect them, Adrian, your hand's up.
I just want to, before I let go of the mic, there's two sources of funding to make this happen. There's the Neo Council income, and then there's whatever happens with this battle of the giants going on and whatever happens with the Treasury. And I really don't want to be the guy that kicks the can down the road, but we have to be honest with ourselves. There's very little we can do until that problem is solved as well. So we need to also think about this with the two pools of funding that we have available. One I see as a stopgap, the council funding, but we really do need a long-term solution as well from the Treasury. And so I think whatever we do next, we have to keep that into consideration as well.
Just one quick pushback before we go to Adrian is that I don't think we have to wait for that to be sorted out, because that's the kind of thing that just puts us forever in, I don't know, stasis the right word? Not that we can start planning what we want to do and pitch this scenario to the founders, to Neo Foundation, to Neo Global Development, to the core developers. We can start doing all the work. I don't see any benefit in waiting to see what some outcome is when we can start doing action now. Because in reality, we should have started taking action yesterday and the day before yesterday.
Look,
so I take the point, but
if we can, if we as the council can pony up $750,000 a year to bring in 3 candidates that are worth that amount of weight in gold to go out and do BD and to fix what's broken, then yeah, let's do it.
That's not the first step. That's not the first step, right? Like that's kind of the point I was making at the start, right? There's going to be trade-offs. There's going to be things that aren't going to work perfectly. And if we're saying this isn't worth doing at all unless we can get $750,000 salaried CEOs from wherever they're going to come from, then we're going to stay as we are right now. And if the choice is between, doing this, maybe stop gapping someone, like some people from the community, to hold this role until we steady the ship, and then later on get that, I would prefer that path than saying this is not worth even like starting the development work on this, because we don't know how we're going to pay for those big wigs yet.
I cannot reiterate enough that somebody needs to come in to onboard actual use cases. And to do that, we need to bring in outside members from the community who are capable of bringing a Tether on, who are capable of bringing a USDC on, who are capable of bringing an actual RWA project on. And that needs money. And there's no amount of circle jerking we're going to do that's going to fix anything until we have actual capital coming on chain. Because there's two things to bring a chain back from its depths. There's TVL or there's users. And one begets the other. And we need to have people that can drive this ecosystem and reinvigorate its image. And I'm sorry, that's the only solution.
I agree with you on that. My question to you is, do you think this is not worth starting on at all, or doing any version of this unless we can get those people?
Those people are necessary.
No, that's not the question. Do you think it's not worth starting at all and not doing any work on this unless we can guarantee we can get those people? Is that what you're saying?
We need the funding to get them. And
no, that's not what I'm asking. Do you think this is not worth doing, not worth starting the work on, not starting the planning, not starting development, not starting to build the structure, understand how it would work? Do you think none of this is worth doing unless we can guarantee we can get those people?
We need to put something into place to bring those people on.
Exactly. That's my point. And that's the problem we have as an ecosystem. Too often we're like, we don't have the perfect solution. We don't know how this is going to work out down the road. And so we don't start on something, right? We can't get to that point unless we commit to putting the mechanisms in place to get them to begin with. Yes, we need the money too, but we also need the structure. We also need to put the mechanisms in place for that to even be real. So I don't want to sit on our hands. I want to start doing something now. Adrian?
I love it, Dean. You want to do something now. Me as well. So there's two things. The one thing is how does that minimum viable solution or product look like? So how can we start implementing this? What needs to be decided? I think it's not that much actually. I think we could strip the idea and the proposal down to its bare minimum for it to be sort of effective and start to work, and then we can fail and we can improve. So let's say, could you raise money for 3 roles for a 3 months engagement, and that's maybe too little. Yeah, we need a year. Yeah, is it realistic that we can raise that much money? I'm not sure. But how does this minimum viable solution look like for this proposal? I think maybe you're the guy to figure it out, to strip it down, and which parts are really important, and I can help to comment and work on it with you if you want to. And the second thing I want to comment on, I see happening now, is that we're starting to try to come to an agreement on who we should elect. And if this is supposed to be a democratic process, there is 21 votes. And we should be able to, people can come with suggestions on who these 3 should be. But to be honest, bring one guy, bring 2 guys, and then someone brings another one. And could these in combination be the perfect solution? I don't think any one of us should control who we should elect, because that goes besides the point. So let's see if we could figure out, each one of us could figure out definitions of roles that we would like to see in the board, and everyone should be able to provide something in the Discord channel about who they would like to see, and we could aggregate that, or maybe make that into a job description that we could set up. And then the second thing, could we just now on neo.community see if we could add a proposal to try to raise some gas from nodes who are willing to put in the initial amounts, stake something here to say, hells yeah, I'm willing to give up some gas to get this board up and running. Could Neo Foundation match it? Who knows? But at least we show initiative. We start the get the ball rolling immediately. And if you have a candidate, don't define that role in Discord. Say like, we should get this guy. That's something you could do tonight. You can start with. And I would encourage everyone here today to start with that, if you like the idea. I would like to push back on, there's been said now, I think by Anne, that we need to find how the perfect solution look like or something. I disagree. We need to figure out what the minimum solution looks like, because this is not really dangerous for me. Nothing can go wrong with the network. We could show initiative and give someone else the torch to make executive decisions, and that's what's needed. They need to be between 3 and 5, and they can just run with it like a fast speed train and like make decision, because we cannot. So I would like to start immediately and not wait for anything.
Yeah, I mean, the GitHub discussion is up. I said it before. I put there's a shit ton of detail in there, including who I believe like that the profile of like the ideal candidates would be, and everyone's free to disagree on that or improve upon it.
Not more details, less details. Like strip it down. It's really yeah.
But the other thing that I would like to hear in the GitHub as well is from the core, right? Because they're the guys who are going to have to do this work, right? I'm not a developer. And like I said before, I shouldn't be saying like, oh, this is an easy solution. Or, you know, I don't know what their priorities are. I don't know how hard it is. Maybe there's a gotcha in there that I haven't thought of. So I think we also need the core to review it and review the feasibility of it, and see if that's, you know, something they can implement and how soon they can implement it, right? Because I believe I think you've decided on your new schedule for shipping releases, right? Like, is that fixed? Are we working to that schedule? Like, you know, the first question, there's a couple questions to me, but one of the first ones is this easy to be built, feasible to be built, and how long will it take to be built in the structure, you know, that minimum viable structure?
Create a new role is very easy.
Even with the veto functionality. So to me, it's just the role, because there's three parts. There's the role. The role is a multi-sig, like a dynamic multi-sig, and then there's the veto functionality to be able to veto the council to be able to veto the board's transactions if they want to.
Yeah, only for the treasury, I understand.
Say it again, sorry?
Because it's for a treasury contract, right?
Right, yeah, so you would elect, yeah, so the treasury contract would have five signers, so you elect them to that role, yeah, as a signatory on the treasury contract. Yep.
Okay, currently the treasury is the owner of the treasury is the full committee.
Mm-hmm.
So
this would be a separate one. I know the one you're talking about, and I think that should stay, because that's in, like, you know, if there's a hack, right, and we're going to like move the funds from that hacked address, I think that needs that really high council threshold to be able to move funds. This will be a separate treasury.
So you want to create 2 treasuries?
Yeah. So you've got the council one that you've already created, and then this one would be, so there'll be a new role, so like Treasury Board or something, and that role is to make them a signatory on another treasury that has the signing rules defined on it. And so if a board member is removed and added, in the way I have it in the proposal is that the signatures always require a minimum of 3, but always more than 50% signers, right? So let's say there was 5 people on the board, and then 2 were removed for whatever reason. Maybe they left, maybe they did something wrong, and there was 3. Well, they'd need all 3 to sign. If the board grew to 7, then they would need 4 to sign. So that's how it was in my proposal. I don't know if that's the easiest way to implement it. Jimmy mentioned he'd prefer a higher signature threshold. So if they have that role, there would be a signator on that treasury contract or account.
But then why the treasury contract will be used? the currently treasury?
Well, the current treasury, I mean, we implemented that, I think, before we kind of came to the solution that it's this, at least I came to this conclusion that I don't think the council can move fast enough to manage like a treasury on its own, right? Getting 11 people to agree on anything, let alone fast enough to make impactful decisions, especially when it's not just people agreeing, it's they need to get consensus with their team and then come before they even like bring that decision. It's not efficient. But I do think that treasury, that contract is valuable because, as I understand it, if funds are frozen due to a hack, say $20 million was stolen, and that's been sitting in an address that was frozen, then after, what is it, 1 year or 2 years, that can be withdrawn into the council treasury contract. But that requires 20 of 21 signatures. I think that's completely reasonable, right? Because we're talking about funds that are like very edge cases, funds at a whole nother level. So I think that council treasury contract still has value and still has a clear use case. But for the board to function, they would need a separate treasury contract because the core problem is we can't get 11 people, 11 groups to make all agree on something fast enough to do anything impactful.
But Dean, as a first step, do we need like to change anything in the core? Do you need to modify anything? I think we could maybe like as a first step is just do as simple as smart contract, like with Treasury, that we're gonna just like execute some certain functions based on the current state of the console. Dynamically, you know. I mean, this could be a possibility, like just to keep the ball rolling, and this will be completely decoupled at start, and like it's a pre MVP, and then you're gonna have like to find ways to deposit assets and elect people, you know, on this to control this treasury. So like, but all of this can happen kind of off chain with processes. I don't know, like I'm just thinking about like the super is lean MVP, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I am not the person to define how this gets implemented. Like, you know, I'm not on the code, I'm not on the tools, right? So we could do, I mean, there's nothing stopping us from just doing a multi-sig wallet, except, you know, we can't elect people in and out of that as the council, right? If we really trusted some people, we could do that, and like when the council, when the money runs out, the money runs out. I don't know if that's the ideal solution, but if we were to like build like some sort of contracts separately from the core that the council could move people in and out of, I don't have enough knowledge to know if that's easier than just adding a new role.
That's
like
possible. That's possible to do, and then we're independent from the core.
Exactly.
And we can do it at our own speed.
Yeah.
If that's easier.
We could do like just adding what Adrian said. Like we could do not a simple multi-sig, a native multi-sig, you know, as we speak, but like a smart contract that will have characteristics of multi-sig, more or less like grant shares, in the sense of you have like members. Who can elect as members? It's the council, you know, and who can spend these assets from the smart contract are the members of that treasury. You know, it's so it's not so. Yeah, I think like for the start, let's try to not build this natively, but let's think about an independent smart contract, and then come up with a plan of how the board gets elected, and get a plan on convincing the parties on deposit some assets to it, create a document, what is the mandate of the board, you know, and I think that's the first step. I can also help like to define it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the decision becomes how to upgrade the contract, maybe, because if it's native, it's part of the network upgrade. But with the smart contract, it becomes something upgradable or not. It should be for security reasons. But that if we could have the upgrade method confirm that enough nodes have agreed to upgrade, then maybe that could be the upgrade function. So they could be independent from protocol upgrade to start with, at least.
Yeah. if that's the path of least resistance, I'm all for it. And then later on, if we decide we want to move it into, like, I'm sure we migrate across. So yeah, I'm I know what I'm not an expert at. That's one of those things. So if you guys think that's more feasible and simpler, I'm inclined to believe you.
Again, imperfections, not the ideal solution, but at least it will give like some independence that we can do something, with those assets and start like maybe making the decision that European hub, the idea, that a proposal that you've done, Dean, we could just execute it, or we could do other things also with that. But depends on the mandate of the board, of course. We have like to define this in the document, but I think this is the simplest.
Yeah. Well, I would encourage everyone to look at the GitHub and, put some comments there. There's already a conversation started there. I do think it would be good to bring it across to the NEAR community forum as well, but there is a lot of information there already. So let's continue the conversation there. And then maybe when it gets to making some of those decisions, we can move that across and make the decisions once, on NEAR community. So, that is something everyone can do after this. Go to the GitHub, set a little bit of reading time. And if you've got any thoughts, any concerns, push back. If you want to push back, please. And the other thing, if you are just like, and there's nothing wrong with this in this regard, if you're like, you know what, I trust you guys, I'm cool with whatever is decided, then say that. Because I don't want to be in a position where we're like, okay, so we've got 7 people decided and we can't get a response from the other ones. Does that mean we're okay to move or not? If you're passive and don't care, or just trust the rest of us, then say so. So we can move forward. Yeah, I think that's the only other thing I want to say on the matter. Cool, guys. Well, we're well and truly over time as promised. Does anybody have anything else they want to say on this, or any other topic?
Yeah, I have another topic regarding reducing fees.
Mm-hmm.
So I've implemented the decimal execution fee factor changes in the found hard fork. It will be on change soon, but we still think that it's not the most reliable solution. And in USPCC, we are currently working on Roman's proposal to reevaluate prices for VM opcodes. I think this work is still in progress. We need some amount of time to finish it, but we already have new models of opcode prices, and the new model is already pretty much cheaper than the old one and pretty much more balanced. So I think we will have eventually some solution for that problem. Just a quick update from the NEOS side on this issue, because it's important. So Dean, do you have a plan to reduce fees in the nearest future, to reduce execution fee factor? Do you have some the number you want to reduce fees to?
Me?
Yes. Well, I suppose it's of course it's a committee.
I think it's a question for everyone.
It's a question for a committee, but you are leading this meeting, so
I think I would ask Flamingo, because it's most.
We don't need it if we get a whitelist. keep it as is, and everyone who is not in the whitelist and needs lower fees, they should raise their hands and ask to get lower fees. I appreciate the work of Roman and Joanna, and I guess I'll have to see what comes out of the Roman proposal in terms of how it really affects mainnet and trades and stuff on Flamingo. But if we're in the whitelist, that's what's mattered the most, firstly.
Okay.
Okay, good. And Okay,
Sorry, I think he wants to say something on the fees.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Gil and I, we haven't talked about this yet, but this will probably become a topic for the bridge, because there we experienced the higher fees, especially for bridging messages. We're talking about some changes in, if we go towards that, then we could resolve part of it. But right now, as it is, if you send like larger messages, it's not competitive with other bridging solutions out there, because the fee factor is quite high. Yeah. So it will be a topic for us. Yeah. But we
Yeah,
haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah, 100%.
Did you do some evaluation? What is the amount of execution fee factor that you need to? What is the desired value?
I mean, I cannot give you a number right now. We did
Okay.
some estimations, but I can come back to you, Anna.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially with like plans for just one thing, especially with the plans for coming up with interoperability solution between N4 and 3 and 4 to other ecosystems like Ethereum, mainnet or others, comparing our approach to, let's say, CCIP from Chainlink. I mean, we use a very similar, like not exactly the same, but a similar approach. But because of some design decisions that we took, of course, and because of new and 3, which fees are higher, the competitiveness is lower, as Michael said. So it will come. But again, we're gonna present this in a more digestible, in a more concrete way in the next, let's say, week or weeks for you guys, and we're gonna be. We already talked to Charbon that we're gonna participate in some core dev meetings to talk about this topic specifically. Yeah, that's it from our side. Thank you.
Okay, that would be good to hear, and I think that the new code prices also will be helpful with this, with your problem. And another topic I had is regarding the governance platform. So NEOS PCC tried to enter the governance platform, and we faced with the issue. The issue is that we cannot trust to external wallet providers because we have our private key, and this private key basically owns all the funds, all the rewards got from the consensus node. So I think we need some way to integrate to enter the governance platform via another. Ideally, that would be using some NeoGo tool.
As I've written in the Discord channels, just create users and DM me, Anna, with the IDs, and I'll set you up so that you can participate. This is a minimum viable product. It's a demo. It's supposed to check if we can participate and have more, or to test if we can have more participation. So this is not a fully decentralized solution. And if signing was in the CLI tool, then signing could be done, and we could verify that way. But for now, we can do it centralized, so that at least we can see and hear your opinions. It's not an optimal solution. It's not on chain. So for now, we can just DM me, Anna, and just create users using username and password. DM me, and I'll make sure that you can represent your node. You can't do any harmful actions by commenting or writing in there, except for maybe reputation destruction. But just DM me and we'll solve it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Well, I think that's that's everything we have from NeoSpecies side. We also discussed with Roman the topic about your proposal, Dean, and we had, in general, we are not against of your proposal, and that we think that the board is a good, like, third-party entity is a good thing to manage core and community integration and core and Neo Foundation integration. But we had the same question regarding people. So who will be part of the board? It's clear that existing communities, everyone who's present here, we just don't have enough resources to to be part of the board. But at the same time, we cannot pick some person who are out of the Neo ecosystem, because I think we like this person should be really should have really good knowledge about the Neo platform. So it's a complicated question.
Yeah, we need a mix. We need, like, that's 100%. We need good. The bottom line is we need good people, right? And that's something that we're going to need to find along the way. I think how we attract them, where those candidates come from. These are unknowns right now, but we'll figure it out together, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have any more topics.
Cool. Thanks, Anna. Anyone else?
Yes. Are we stepping away with any concrete action from this meeting?
I think for me, get on the GitHub and comment you're either for the proposal or you have questions you want to see answered, right? Or against the proposal. Okay. I don't want to walk away from here and then I don't know where everyone stands, because I'm going to be pushing the topic. I'm going to be asking people to work on stuff. I can't build a smart contract, right? I'm an ideas man. I just make work for other people.
I noted that maybe I should create an outline for a smart contract or something on my to-do list. So
yeah,
maybe
I mean,
pitch,
yeah. If we're doing it on the side and it's not something that's going to be done in the core, that slightly complicates things, because otherwise it would have been clear who would do the implementation. It's kind of not as clear if we do it outside, an outside thing. But get on the GitHub, tell me if you're for it, tell us if you're against it, tell us if you have, okay, these I'm not for or against it, but we need to get these things sorted out so we can address it. Because otherwise, if we hang up this call and nothing happens, and for anyone who's watching this later, because this will be live, if you're in the community and you're watching this, right, you can jump on and join the conversation too. You've got a voice also. So let's push it that way, and I'll just keep pushing. I'll just from my side to try and get the pieces into play, and that's my action item. And it's up to each of you guys to play your role too.
Sounds good to me. A little bit of silence there.
All good. All right. Anything else? Going once, going twice, going 3 times? All right. I appreciate everyone for joining. Thank you in advance for your contributions to this topic after this call. And, we'll probably call another meeting in another month or so, and hopefully we've made some good progress on this by then. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dean.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Guru.